Since President Tinubu scrapped the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, Niger Delta people, including Asari Dokubo, the para follow President Tinubu. They say they don't like the scrapping of the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs.
President Bola Tinubu's first Federal Executive Council meeting after his 2-week working leave threw up a bit of surprise, but it was also highly anticipated. 5 ministers were relieved of their appointments and 7 more nominated as ministers, while several others were reassigned portfolios within the federal cabinet. The 5 ministers discharged by the president are Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, Minister of Tourism, Lola Adejon, Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, Abdullahi Gwarzo, and Minister of Youth Development, Jamila Bio Ibrahim. Now, 7 fresh names have been nominated by President Tinubu for ministerial positions, subject to confirmation by the Senate. Lintawa Yilwatda was nominated as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Muhammadu Dingyadi as Minister of Labor and Employment. Bianca Ojukwu has been nominated as Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, and Jumoke Oduwole as Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Others are Idi Meha, who is to head the Ministry of Livestock Development, Yusuf Atta, nominated as Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, and Suwaiba Ahmed as Minister of State for Education. President Bola Tinubu also reassigned some ministers. Current Minister of State for Education, Yusuf Sinono, is now Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction. Current Minister of State for Health, Tunji Alausa, is now Minister of Education. Bello Godonyo, who is the current Minister of State for Water Resources and Sanitation, is now Minister of State for Works. And others are Abubakar Momo, who is the current Minister of Niger Delta Development. He's now been reassigned to the Ministry of Regional Development. Minister of State for Steel Development, Uba Ahmadu, is now Minister of State for Regional Development. Current Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzokanite, is now Minister of State for Finance. John Eno is now Minister of State for Trade and Investment. And Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, who was formerly Minister of State for Police Affairs, will now be the Minister of Women Affairs. Ayodele Lawande has been reassigned to the Ministry of Youth Development as the Minister, and Salako Isiak is now the Minister of State for Health. Let's bring you a report on this.
President Bola Tinubu's first Federal Executive Council meeting after his 2-week working leave threw up a bit of surprise. But it was also highly anticipated. A cabinet reshuffle that will reposition the administration at a time when approval ratings appeared to have dipped. 5 ministers were relieved of their appointment and 7 more nominated as ministers, while several others were reassigned portfolios within the federal cabinet. President Bola Tinubu scrapped the Ministry of Niger Delta and approved the creation of the Ministry of Regional Development that will oversee affairs of all regional development commissions in the country. The Ministry of Sports Development was also taken out. Likewise, the Ministry of Tourism that has now been merged with the Ministry of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy. Also, after a 10-month vacuum, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation will finally get a minister, following the sack of Betta Edu in January.
The Federal Executive Council has taken a decision to take that Ministry of Tourism out and the functions of that ministry be transferred to a new ministry called the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy. The President and members of Council today took a decision to rename that ministry so that all these other regional bodies will come under this new Ministry of Regional Development.
The minister of the defunct Ministry of Niger Delta made some clarifications regarding the nomenclature of the new Ministry of Regional Development, insisting it is without prejudice to the Niger Delta region.
For our people over there in the Niger Delta region, I would like them to know that that has not removed anything from them. The NDDC is still very much in place, which is still under the Ministry of Regional Development, and all other such agencies are there. It's just a question of change of nomenclature. That is what has been done. And I wouldn't want anybody in that region to begin to feel that the Ministry of Niger Delta has been scrapped and is no more in existence.
The cabinet reshuffle may be part of recommendations submitted in a report by Hadiza Bala Usman, Special Advisor to the President on Policy and Coordination. She is saddled with the responsibility of appraising the performance of the ministers. Hadiza Bala Usman launched the Citizens Delivery Tracker app, which is the first digital app that empowers citizens to rate ministries, departments and agencies. It is unclear the kind of impact citizens had in the process or if their input influenced the decision to retain or sack ministers. In the coming days, the list of the 7 newly nominated ministers will be sent to the Senate for screening.
Former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Timmy Frank, and National President, Anioma Youth Forum Worldwide, Nnamdi Ofoye. Gentlemen, good to have you join us on the program. Let me begin with you, Mr. Ofoye. 5 ministers sacked, 10 redeployed, 7 newly nominated. What's your take about the shakeup of the cabinet?
Thank you, and good afternoon to you. The cabinet reshufflement or redeployment of ministers is one that many Nigerians had long expected. If you agree with me, the president himself seemed to understand that most of his ministers have underperformed, and Nigerians were actually looking forward to this to happen. But eventually, in the wisdom of the president, instead of sacking the entire Federal Executive Council and reappointing new ones, he went for the jugulars of the few whom he felt actually underperformed for one reason or the other and replaced them. That's the 5 of them, and then nominated 7 fresh ministerial nominees to man these positions, and then he now created a new ministry. So it's a good one. It's a good one that he has started this way. So this will now charge all the ministers to up their gains, knowing fully well that the president is very, very concerned about performance. And in the situation that you fail to perform up to expectation, you will be relieved. And if you perform, if you fail to perform up to expectation, you'll be relieved of your duty. And if you perform, you'll be retained. And I think it's a good way to charge his appointees to get to work.
So can we now say that we have round pegs and round holes, or do you perceive there are certain individuals who still have to boot it out?
I won't completely say that we have round pegs and round holes for now, because among those retained, there are still some of them whom we think that should be shown the exit door. But I think it's good, maybe the president wants to give them a little more trial to see if they will come up. Maybe what do I use now? The criteria used to assess them was based on +1 and -1 basis. So if maybe you come close, he might decide to give you some slack to see if you can buckle up. But for those that were relieved, I think to him, maybe they performed totally poor and they had to go. So let's not conclude that it's a case of all round pegs and round holes, but let's still monitor and see how they perform going forward.
All right, Mr. Ofoye, we have another guest join us via Zoom. He is Timmy Frank, former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the APC. Mr. Frank, let's get your take about this reshuffling of the cabinet. It's something that a number of people had looked forward to. Were you among those?
Well, thank you very much for having me. And My own view is very simple. I think Nigerians waited for this long to expect a cabinet reshufflement that would have been exciting. But unfortunately, this cabinet reshufflement that Mr. President did was a very disappointing one, because the people he relieved from their job, out of 50 ministers, they only relieved 5 persons. And for me, that is not good enough. And the persons they relieve of their duty are like persons, you can say they are like unknown gunmen, that Nigerians did not even know this set of ministers, because these are not the key players of the economy of Nigeria, the ministers he removed. Nigerians were expecting more, to see that those running the economy in this cabinet would have been the ones to be removed. Those running the finance, those running the petroleum, those running the, the defense and other parts of, the economy.
But Mr. Frank, if you say that
all these major players were removed. So they removed those people that Nigerians did not know the role that they are playing today in this government, and a role that can impact on the people. So unfortunately, it's a very disappointing one. And I think the president could have done more. But unfortunately, he has disappointed. I believe even his own family members will be disappointed by this decision he took.
Mr. Frank, if you say that those who were discharged of their duties, please let me come in. If you say those who were discharged of their duties were unknown, could that be a pointer to the fact that they were not performing? Because at some point, the president had to say that these ministers needed to go out there and let Nigerians know what they are doing to contribute to the renewed hope agenda of the government.
I don't know how they assess these ones that they removed, but trust me, I will tell you clearly, 70% of Tinubu's cabinet members, 70% are not performing. So that is why Nigerians are disappointed. And that is why Nigerians believed that if he wanted to reshuffle his cabinet, then practically maybe half of them would have gone. But unfortunately, practically if you have 50 persons and you took away just 5, then you didn't do anything.
But Mr. Frank,
even if you are going to take out just 5, we expected you should have taken out the key players of the economy that has brought this government to shame, that has brought this economic system today that we are passing through in Nigeria, that has brought the hardship the Nigerian people are passing through. But if you leave those key players and you remove those ones within sports, youth, and thereabouts, women affairs, on what impact would that be to the Nigerian people?
So is it about the number of people who are sacked? Mr. Frank, is it about the number of people who are sacked, or the reasons for which they are sacked, and the ability to reject the ministries from which they've now been taken away?
Well, for example, if we want to talk based on their capacity, that's what I'm telling you today. Over 70% of those in this administration lacks capacity to perform. If they wanted to do the right thing, then the man should have dropped majority of them. And when you come again to the other side, when they start melting and dropping, and you say you want to cut the cost of governance, and you drop, ministry like Niger Delta today is no more there. For me, that is another, mistake the president did for, scrapping the Ministry of Niger Delta. Because if you are scrapping the Ministry of Niger Delta, then you are bringing additional Ministry of Livestock. And you said you are creating regional development in all the regions, and therefore the Ministry of Niger Delta should be scrapped. Then, which means the president is not fair to the Niger Delta people, because let me tell you something. The Ministry of Niger Delta today is one ministry that was not given to the Niger Delta people by charity. That ministry was given to the Niger Delta people because of the then crisis in the Niger Delta. And President Yar'Adua felt, let me give something to the people of the Niger Delta, that something that we can use to develop the region. something that we can use to bring peace in the region. And he did everything he could to bring the Ministry of Niger Delta. Those were part of the negotiations that brought the peace today the Niger Delta people are enjoying. But unfortunately, President Tinubu came and take that peace away.
Mr. Frank, I would need to butt in here, and I would, need to tell you to pause for a moment, and let's take a listen, really, to the minister, the SY Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, who has now been appointed the Minister of Regional Development, and then we'll talk some more about, the scrapping of that ministry, creation of the Ministry of Regional Development, and the fact that, talking really about the role that this ministry is meant to perform. Let's listen to Abubakar Momo.
For our people over there in the Niger Delta region, I would like them to know that that has not removed anything from them. The NDDC is still very much in place, which is still under the Ministry of Regional Development, and all other such agencies are there. It's just a question of change of nomenclature. That is what has been done. And I wouldn't want anybody in that region to begin to feel that the Ministry of Niger Delta has been scrapped and is no more in existence.
Abubakar Momo, Minister of Regional Development there, addressing concerns that could arise and which, of course, people are already talking about over the scrapping of the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. Let's get Mr. Foye to react to this. The creation of this Ministry of Regional Development, there are 6 different geopolitical zones, and of course, each with its unique peculiarities. Now, this ministry has been established. We understand that all the regional, commissions, development commissions will be subsumed under this federal body, and they'll be working together to bring growth and development to these zones. What to take about this, Mr. Foye?
Thank you very much. I want to say clearly that it was a big mistake to scrap the Ministry of Niger Delta Development and then replace it with the Ministry of Regional Development, because the NDDC shouldn't be seen or shouldn't fall into the purview of that Ministry of Regional Development. The NDDC cannot be... Yes, because the Regional Development Commissions cannot equate the NDDC in any way. The NDDC was a child of necessity. The NDDC was created to specifically address some certain issues and take care of the people of the Niger Delta after their land has been continuously degraded by oil exploration. So modeling the NDDC into the Ministry of Regional Development is one that is unacceptable to us from the Niger Delta area. I will want to call that the bill establishing the South-South Development Commission should be expedited and let the president sign it into law. That South-South Development Commission should be used to replace them. Why the NDDC should be brought out from that ministry, ministry. The NDDC was created as an independent and autonomous body, commission, that has its own funding directly from source and cannot be seen to meddle with this other development commission. It will take away that autonomy that the NDDC is supposed to have. The Niger Delta ministry was also not supposed to be scrapped. That is what majority of the voices who have spoken over this issue from the Niger Delta. We believe that the Niger Delta should still be, the Niger Delta Development Commission should still be allowed to operate under the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. The South-South Development Commission, when signed into law, should now go in there under the Ministry of Regional Development and not the NDDC.
I hear you, Mr. Foye, but you realize also that we have development commissions, in and for other regions. We have the Southeast Development Commission, we have for the Northeast, and for the other regions. Which of course, also are children of necessity, if we may put it, if we use some of the words that you and Mr. Frank have actually used on the show. And this ministry is actually being headed by someone who is from the Niger Delta. So don't you think that he would have the interest, not just of the Niger Delta at heart, but of course of the entire geopolitical zones and bringing development? Let's have Mr. Frank react to that.
Tell you clearly why the president must reverse his decision on the Ministry of Niger Delta. First of all, the minister that is there today did not understand or did not even know how this ministry came about. I will tell you clearly, I'm one of those key actors that negotiated during the crisis of the Niger Delta. I played a very major role in the Niger Delta to bring the peace that we're enjoying today in the Niger Delta region. So I understand, and that is why, to some of us, the minister is just speaking for his own personal gain. He's not speaking, and he does not even have the mandate to speak on behalf of the Niger Delta people. Today, after the scrapping of this ministry, our leader from the Niger Delta, Chief Edwin Clark, have made it very clear of the position of the Ijaw people and the Niger Delta people, to tell the president to say, you must come back to status quo. Today, one of the major supporters and biggest supporters of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the Niger Delta, Alhaji Asare Dokubo, has also lent his voice to tell the president to immediately reverse that position, because that position did not go down well with the people of the Niger Delta. First of all, if you want to scrap the Ministry of Niger Delta, who did you consult as president? We are not a military regime. You should have consulted the people, because let me tell you, the creation of Niger Delta Ministry was not just given to the people of Niger Delta, like my brother earlier stated here, with you. This issue of Niger Delta, people died in the process of all of this. And President Yar'Adua then felt he wanted a genuine peace. And he called us for a stakeholders meeting in the Niger Delta. He called every one person, and he made series of offers. And he kept to his word on every offers he made to the Niger Delta people. And that is how today we're enjoying the peace in the Niger Delta. And let me tell President Bola Tinubu to know that if he fails to reverse this position, that people like Edwin Clark, that is our leader from Ijaw land and from the Niger Delta, and so many people who has called on him, the Niger Delta people will have no option at this point in time to react to the best form that we've always react to get what we want.
Supposed to be a threat, Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank, please. Is that supposed to be a threat?
It's not a threat, but I'm just telling you, you cannot take something from us without dialoguing with us. You cannot take something from us that has been given by another president without consulting with the people of the Niger Delta. For God's sake, this is a region that is giving so much to Nigeria as a country. So
I hear you, but then, Mr. Frank, there should be channels. There should be channels of communicating these concerns to Mr. President, and not necessarily inciting the people of the Niger Delta to violence or anarchy because of disaffection about a decision, a policy decision of the government.
We are not. You can see, and that channel is what we are talking about. The channel is the voice of Chief Ike Clark. The voice of Chief Ike Clark is the voice of the Niger Delta people today. The voice of Chief Ike Clark is the voice of the Ijaw people today. The voice of Alhaji Asare Dokubo is the voice of the people of the Niger Delta.
Mr. Frank, we need to take a break.
Alhaji Asare Dokubo is the voice of the Ijaw people. And the Ijaw people have spoken. As I speak, meeting is ongoing right now on this. So the Ijaw people will take our decision, and the people of Niger Delta, if the president failed to do the needful. We know how to react to get what we want. We knew.
The NDDC cannot be said to have been scrapped. Rather, it has been subsumed alongside other development commissions under the Ministry of Regional Development for a unified approach and effort. And if I may ask this, the NDDC was established in 2000, 5th of June, year 2000. Between that time and now, 24 years, 24 years ago, how much of development has the NDDC been able to actually bring to the Niger Delta region? Let's that question go to Mr. Frank now.
Anyway, I know the NDDC in the past have done their best. They've done what they can do. But again, the NDDC today, the people in Abuja, in every government, has not been able to allow, the people of Niger Delta to carry out the plans and development process that NDDC is meant for.
How do you mean?
You hear today they give them money. Who are the contractors doing all these projects? Where are they coming from? It's either coming from the presidential villa or one higher powers in Abuja. At the end of the day, we see nothing. But whether we like it or not, today we can also give credit to the NDDC for some certain things the Niger Delta people has benefited from.
But who has spoken out about this anomaly, Mr. Frank, if what you're saying is correct? Who, before now, has spoken out about this anomaly and the need for a change?
Well, people have been complaining about all of this for a very long time. It's just because the leaders out there, because they are also part of the cash cow that NDDC has turned to for so many politicians sitting down in Abuja. So when we complain, nobody takes action on it. So what other people are complaining, yes, people have been complaining about the activities of the NDDC in the past. So for this so many years, NDDC has been there, as much as we said NDDC has not really done what we expect to develop the region, the way the region should have been, but to also give NDDC some certain level of credits, especially what we are seeing today in the current, activities of the NDDC. We are also still seeing some certain actions and some certain, developments. But in the other way around, I think, we think NDDC could have done more.
I hear you, Mr. Frank, but let's quickly.
NDDC should do more.
All right, then. Let's turn attention to Mr. Afonye. I'll ask you the same question. 24 years since the NDDC was established. What can be pointed to or pointed at as, results that this commission has actually been able to achieve in the Niger Delta region?
Yes, if I'm asked to point out, it will be deception if I tell you that the NDDC has actually done much in the Niger Delta since its creation in the year 2000. So much budgets have been allocated to that commission, and when you look around, there is no signature project anywhere in the Niger Delta region. We, as Niger Delta, there's nobody in the Niger Delta that is not aware of the East-West Road. That road has become a recurring decimal every year that since the creation of NDDC till now, about 24 years after, that road still remains a death trap. That road still remains a nightmare to the people of Niger Delta region. And it was supposed to be under the purview of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Recently, what we now hear is that the responsibility has been taken away from the NDDC and given back to the Ministry of Works to complete that road. But if you follow that road, you will see that even the areas where had been worked on before, they have all dilapidated. So we are back to square zero. So the NDDC truly has failed over the years. Maybe from now onwards we can see, but to me, that should not be a basis to scrap it or to take away its independence and model it up with this development commission, because the NDDC, if you must remember, takes care of 9 states spread across 3 geopolitical zones: the north, the southwest, the southeast, and the south-south. So the NDDC is not on the same pedestal with the development commission that are being created today. But generally, the NDDC must be charged and its operation reviewed for optimal performance to meet the yearnings and aspirations of the people. The NDDC, like my brother said, actually has remained a cash cow to so many politicians. The NDDC has been, over the years, hijacked by a cabal, administration after administration. After this administration, the next administration comes, another set of cabal comes on, and they hijack the commission. The people down there, the people who are supposed to benefit from the commission, do not get anything at the end of the day. Billions of naira, hundreds of billions of naira are earmarked for that commission on yearly basis. This 2023, I know that the budget was around 800 and something billion. But when you go into the Niger Delta, you will not see any project, any infrastructure that comes close to that amount of money being spent. So the NDDC, over the years, has not met our aspirations, but going forward, we will call on the powers that be to review its operations to see that efficiency is brought back to that commission.
All right, I'm going to Mr. Frank now, then I would ask, what really is the agitation about? Because it does appear that, yes, the funds are being released, but the people of the Niger Delta themselves, the leadership, are they allowing the funds to be used for the purpose for which it was earmarked, to actually bring development to the people of the Niger Delta? Talk about the cleanup of the Ogoni land. Talk about different forms of projects that the people of the Niger Delta actually need to survive. Mr. Frank, please.
I think what has kept the Niger Delta the way it is today is corruption. So many people have benefited from the process of the Niger Delta, and that is why there is so much corruption also in the region. But not relent. Some of us still believe that the government at the center should at all times pay attention to the people of the Niger Delta. They should do more. Like you've said, the Ogoni cleanup, year in, year out. Every government will come and tell us one thing or the other. Till this minute, we've not seen anything. Nothing has been done with this issue of Ogoni cleanup. But I will tell you, billions upon billions upon billions has been given to interests and individuals in government to take part in creating of the road map or road process to achieve the Ogoni cleanup. But up to today, so much politics is still going on in this cleanup of Ogoni. And go to so many parts of the Niger Delta today in our communities. You weep and you cry. You ask if this is the region that is producing this oil that the entire country is benefiting from.
So,
but there is nothing to show for.
All right. So if, in your words, the NDDC, is corrupt, isn't it better then to have an oversight, which is what the Minister of Regional Development would provide?
The Minister of Regional Development, for me, cannot and does not have anything to do different than enriching himself the way every other persons have done. Today, let me tell you clearly, this same minister that has been there, when he was Minister for Niger Delta, what did he do? He did not also do anything. So if he's saying, because they have appointed him to be, the Minister for Regional Development, that is for his own personal business.
Do you have any personal...
have anything to do with the Niger Delta people. All we are saying is, give us what belongs to us. You cannot scrap that ministry of the Niger Delta, and you are creating Ministry of Livestock. And the reason why you are creating Ministry of Livestock is because you said you want to end the crisis of farmers, elders crisis in the north. Then therefore, you are giving them something in the north. So if you are giving them Ministry of Livestock, we have nothing. We are not opposing it.
I hear you, Mr. Frank. But I'm
Leave the
curious.
Ministry of Niger Delta for the people of Niger Delta.
Okay, I'm curious. Do you have a personal issue with the Minister of Regional Development? Have you at any point, had that?
I don't even. Let me tell you clearly. I don't even know him.
All right. So is it about his person? Is it about his person or about the ministry and what has happened?
I'm only telling you because it's not representing the interests of the Niger Delta people. It's representing his own interests. It's not doing what has he done to bring anything meaningful since he came into this administration. So to us, he has no capacity. To us, he's not going to do anything different. So we're not going to celebrate from the Niger Delta to say they scrapped the Ministry of Niger Delta and the new Minister of the Regional Development that is there is from the Niger Delta. Therefore, we've achieved something.
All right, Mr. Frank.
I listened to what the minister has said. What the minister said in his speech has nothing to do with the Niger Delta. Has
okay,
nothing
then,
to do with the ministry. The issue remains that the Ministry of Niger Delta has been scrapped, and we are saying reverse that position. If you are going to keep the Ministry of Livestock, then bring back the Ministry of Niger Delta.
Mr. Frank, it wasn't actually scrapped. It was only subsumed under the Ministry of Regional Development. Mr. Frank, it wasn't scrapped, subsumed under the Ministry of Regional Development. Let's bring in Mr. Ofoye. Let's look at other dynamics in this reshuffling. 7 new persons have actually been nominated as ministers designate, and the Senate has received the list, would have the screening and confirmation done in the days ahead. But let's talk about one of those names, and that is Bianca Ojukwu, nominated as Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. Already we have the governor of Anambra State who has congratulated her, but then the Anambra APC, for instance, is against her nomination. They're describing it as an anti-party action. What is your take about that?
Yes, the president, in his wisdom, decided to nominate the wife of the late Chukwuemeka Ojukwu in the person of Ambassador Bianca Ojukwu to take charge as the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. When you talk about her personality, she has the competence to carry out that assignment and bring results to the country based on her antecedents, her level of exposure, and everything that you can use to gauge that ministry and her assignment. But talking about when you now bring in the issues raised by the Anambra chapter of the All Progressives Congress, it is in their right. I am not from Anambra State and I cannot speak for them. But if you look at, I believe that what is not morally right can never be politically right as well. They feel that it's been one issue that so many members of the All Progressives Congress have had to swallow and most time speak up. They feel betrayed, that successive governments, especially those of the All Progressives Congress, have betrayed their trust. That after working hard to see to their successes in elections, they come back and begin to appoint people seem to have fought them standstill during the elections. It's painful to see such a thing happen. Yes, most times they throw up the issue of competence, but we also believe that even in the APC, even in the Anambra State chapter of the party, there are also competent people. In any community, if you want to seek and search for competent persons to man any position, definitely you must find one. So, as I said earlier, I'm not from Anambra State, and I'm not going to dwell more on it. But their outcry buttresses this fact that the elected leaders, our president, who were elected under the platform of the All Progressives Congress, should look inward and appoint core party people. It will re-energize those who had fought hard for the party 2027 is not far. These people were people known to have hated the APC. So many of them are in this government currently. So many of them are enjoying the sweat of other people, of other persons who lost their lives, who lost their properties, their money, their time and energy. And from nowhere, they are brought into government. What does that tell you? What does that do to the psyche of the people?
Wouldn't this amount to nepotism on the part of the president? Because obviously now he's been liberal, selecting people who are not even members of his party. Doesn't that not show, some level of democratization, the fact that he's open to bringing in only the best hands?
I will disagree with you. Like I said earlier, that no matter the level of competency that you search, you must find them. If you want technocrats, they have technocrats in the All Progressives Congress. If you have competent people, every political party is made up of different caliber of people, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the intelligent and the dull ones. So you cannot use that as an excuse. Most times, these appointments are based on political aggrandizement, to settle some political scores and win some more souls, which everybody in such position will want to do, especially when you're seeking re-election. When you know you're going to seek a re-election, you must do everything possible to see that you are re-elected. But outside that, those other persons down there from Anambra State, they have cried bitterly since that announcement. Their morale have dropped to the barest level. And it's not just in Anambra. This thing, the APC has been suffering since 2015. Under the time of President Muhammadu Buhari, the same thing happened. Situations whereby opposition party members, the PDP, the Labour Party, the CPC, or all other names are brought in to man this position. And after the elections, once they are relieved of their positions, they won't even continue to work for the party. Instead, they will jump ship again and return to their bases. So that's not an excuse that he's only trying not to be nepotistic in his approach. There are competent people from Anambra State. To me, as a person, as I said, I'm not from Anambra. Bianca Ojukwu is competent to man that position. But looking at the political angle to it, the All Progressive Congress in Anambra State, they voiced their concerns. And I think the president might have to look into it as a listening president. It's left it for him to consider.
All right, then. Let's now move over to Mr. Frank. The Ministry of Sport has now been scrapped. It's been replaced with the National Sports Commission. And, how effective do you think this would be in rejigging sport, which could be a massive revenue earner for the country?
On the managers that will be in the forefront in this whole, reshufflement, especially in the Ministry of Sports and the National Sports Commission today. I think we have to bring in the best of brains within the Institute of Sports. We have to bring the best people with the knowledge and experience, because you can appoint somebody there that will go there and will not also make any impact. But you can bring somebody with experience, with somebody who is more knowledgeable, that understands that sector.
But a name has actually been announced already. Sheikh Udiko, the league management company, is the president or chairman now.
Well, I don't know his capacity as a person. I don't know the role he has played all this while. But I think, even if he's there, he has to make sure he brings in a lot of interest. He has to search for the best team to work with him, because our sports system has suffered so much in the past. It has been underfunded all this while in the past. Nothing has been done. We've seen our sports, athletes, and every one of them fed for themselves, whenever they have to go for an international sport festival or competition. So there are so many issues surrounding, that ministry. I think and I hope that this time around that this has been done, we'll start seeing progress. And we want to make sure, and we'll make sure that, we hold, this new man accountable to make sure he must definitely do the right thing that, everybody in the sports industry has been expecting to see that there must be changes and the best hands must be on the decks. The best hands must be on deck, So I believe, I hope and we pray for him to take our sports, to the next level.
Okay, and as we wrap up the conversation, what are your expectations with this rejigging of the federal cabinet?
Well, my expectation remains the same. I don't think, anything new will happen because when, like I said earlier, when you still have all the key players, that their decisions or their actions has been affecting the economy and has been affecting the country. If they are still remaining there, we are still going to get the same results. So until the president takes the right action by making sure he sacks every one of those persons that Nigerians has been calling, the minister of power is there, that Nigerians has been saying, sack your minister of power. You have your minister for finance. You have so many people that Nigerians have been saying, sack these persons. So until the president, take this action to do a proper rejigging of his cabinet, then I will tell you, we are not going to get anything new. And like my brother there was saying, one thing I believe the president should do, for God's sake, I think, is bringing a lot of anger within his party, within, people who has worked for him. If you watch today, I believe the president has his right to appoint who he wants to appoint and who he likes to appoint. But again, the president should be able to know how to reward loyalty to those who have sacrificed for him to be president of Nigeria.
I hear you,
For
Mr.
example,
Frank.
when Nigerians were thinking...
Yes, I hear you. Let's quickly get the position of Mr. Ofoye as well as we wrap up the show. What are your expectations with this shake-up that's taking place?
Yes, it is expected that we will see a new lease of life in these affected ministries because those that were dropped because they did not meet up with the standard that the president had set. So we believe that these new people that were brought in are going to up the games, but at the same time, there are also some persons, there are also some ministers who ought to go. And like I said earlier on, let's also watch them. And thank God with this level now, Nigerians have now been told that they can even begin to pinpoint these people, these ministers, those performing and those that are underperforming, and begin to call out their names for the president to take note. It is a good one for me that this, based on this step that the president has taken, to show that, yes, I'm watching all of you. Those that underperform will have to go, and those that perform will stay. So let's see how things will play out in the coming, from now till early next year. We should be expecting some kind of a shake-up again, and definitely we will then begin to see changes.
All right, Mr. Ofoye. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You understand? Now, President Tinubu don't come and explain what he make and they scrap the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. And what he make and they see sacks of ministers for in cabinet. You understand? Because this now what people don't they show concern for. Now what people don't they discuss, they ask why. What he go make and he go scrap Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. Now the president they do window dressing. He say he convert to Ministry of Regional Development, that is Ministry for, many regions don't be envy Niger Delta since. See, Niger Delta they get the ministry when they work together development, but they no get. So they don't create regional development for all the geopolitical zones for Nigeria. So the president tried to incorporate all of them into a particular ministry. so that from there they can manage all the regions accordingly.